What is up, all you individuals out there? It's me, full-time anime man. And need I say that we just recently hit like 300 subscribers not about a couple of minutes ago. And this is crazy because just the other night I was looking at my subscriber count and like I fell asleep to 199 subscribers and then I woke up to 100 to I'm sorry to 240 subscribers and like thinking, oh my god, this is crazy. I really do hope I can do this. Now before I get into this story, I just wanted to say thank you and like you're gonna have to forgive me because I want to say something. I have it written down right here. I mean, it's not easy for me to say this, but at the same time, it's not hard either. Okay. Thank you for so much support of the last video. I have been getting a lot of hashtag blessed in the comment section down below. I'd just like to thank you all again. Let's see if we can do it again. Hashtag blessed in the comments down below. I know you can do it. I believe in you all. I felt so inspired by all of you guys who had so much nice things to say, and it really means a lot to me. I had to live up to all your hopes and expectations. Uh, so I'll make sure to work harder than anyone else, depending to be the next greatest, hopefully greatest, what if writer. Sorry, that was it. Why am I apologizing? So, anyway, without a further ado, this is What If Deku Was a Firewolf Part 6. Enjoy. Where we last left off, Izuku had barely survived the USJ attack, but luckily for him, the Phoenix came in to rescue him. Back at UA, everyone is thinking about Izuku, hoping that he's going to be okay. But the people who are on the edge of their seat about Izuku is Bakugo and Shoto. In Bakugo's mind, he wanted revenge for his friend against the people that harmed him. While Shoto is thinking back to when the Nomu fatally wounded him, all he could think of was the blood of his friend staining the ground and when he threw Izuku's body to the main entrance of the building like a rag doll. Shoto wanted Izuku to be okay more than anything. He looked over and saw an empty desk and wished Izuku was there. Aizawa then enters the room and says, "Hey everyone." Yayorozu raises her hand, but Aizawa responds with, "If you're wondering about Midoriya, all I can say is that he's in critical condition. He has many injuries for a recovery woman to heal him from. It's going to take him months before he could come back." Everyone has a worried look on their faces. Uraraka drops a tear for the boy she may have had feelings towards, and so does Yayorozu. Before Aizawa could say anything else, the door opens and Izuku emerges from it. Uraraka and Yayorozu get up from their seats while shouting,
Izuku?
Izuku walks up to Aizawa and gives him a doctor's note while saying, "Sorry I'm late. The doctors wouldn't let me go until they had a good look at me, so I had them write this letter." Aizawa, with a bewildered look on his face, says, "It's okay. Take a seat." Izuku smiles and goes to his seat and looks at Bakugo and Shoto and says, "Morning, guys." Shoto and Bakugo look at each other in disbelief. Bakugo finally speaks up saying, "Hey, Izuku, how are you here right now?" Izuku sits in his desk and smirks and says, "You won't believe me even if I tell you." Shoto then speaks up saying, "Well, try us." Izuku then says, "I'll tell you when lunch hour comes." Bakugo and Shoto nod. A few hours later in the cafe, Bakugo and Shoto are listening to Izuku's story. "So yeah, the Phoenix wanted to help me, and decided to give me some of its powers to defeat the Nomu. Bakugo and Shoto are in disbelief. Shoto then asks, "But why you? Couldn't it have been any of us?" Izuku explains, "It's it's because of all the good deeds I've done. It said that it wanted good things to happen to good people. I guess I was lucky enough to catch his eye." Bakugo was about to speak up until he was interrupted by Uraraka and Yaoyorozu approaching their table. Izuku sees this, and at the same time, Uraraka and Yaoyorozu say,
"Hey, can we sit here?"
Izuku is just confused and says, "Yeah, sure, have a seat." They both sit down, and Izuku is getting a sort of disagreeable vibe from the two girls, as if I'm not going to lose to her vibe. Yaoyorozu speaks up saying,
"So, Izuku, how did you recover so fast?"
Uraraka speaks up saying,
"Yeah, is that a sort of thing, being part wolf?"
Izuku says no before he could say anything. He is interrupted by his other classmates,
"Hey, I want to hear about this."
said Mina Ashido.
"Yeah, me too,"
said Jiro. "It's so manly that you're here right now. After after going through what you just did," said Kiroshima.
"I want to hear it, Ribbit,"
said Tsuyu. Basically, everyone wanted to join in at the table to hear about Izuku's miraculous recovery. And so he did. He told his classmate about the phoenix and how it healed him using its tears. Some classmates didn't believe what they were hearing, while most of them did believe Izuku. Ida stood out the most, disbelieving in what Izuku said, saying, "That's impossible. The phoenix is just a mythological creature." Izuku just sits there looking at Ida and says, "Really? We live in a world where people are practically gods, and you don't believe the phoenix is real?" Everyone looks at Ida, waiting for him to respond, but he just sits there quiet. A few minutes later, everyone is back in their classrooms. Aizawa says soon there will be a sports festival to get the attention over hero and corporations. Izuku, Bakugo, and Shoto are talking about the subject. Izuku speaks up saying, "Oh wow, a sports festival. Do you guys think there's going to be any combat involved?" Shoto is a bit concerned for Izuku and says, "Are you sure you should be taking part in the sports festival? You were badly injured not too long ago." Izuku looks at Shoto and says, "Yeah, man, I'm fine. Trust me. The phoenix healed me completely." Bakugo then gets in the conversation saying, "Yeah, let him be. If he says he's fine, he's fine." The moment is interrupted by Yaoyorozu saying,
"Excuse me, Izuku?"
Izuku turns to face Yaoyorozu. Yes, what can I do for you?"
"I was wondering if your schedule isn't so busy."
Izuku is a bit confused and says, "Well, I might be training for a while. Why?"
"I was hoping that we could possibly go,
Izuku turns to Bakugo and Shoto in confusion until he gets the idea of what she's trying to say. On a date?" Yaoyorozu's face then turns red and says in a really fast pace,
"Yes, but if you're too busy, I completely understand. I could just..."
Izuku stands there and says, "I could make some time for you, sure." Yaoyorozu then calms down a bit and says,
"Oh, great. How does Saturday evening sound?"
"I'd have to talk to Endeavor about that, but yeah, I can do that."
"Oh, great. I'll see you then. Bye now."
Yaoyorozu then speed walks away. Izuku sits back down and Bakugo says, Dang, look at you getting all the girls, man. Shoto speaks up. So, where are you going to take her? I don't know, says Izuku. The first thing that comes to my mind is a cat cafe, perhaps. But I'll think about that later. School is almost over, but before everyone can head out, a group of kids crowd the front door of the Class 1A. Izuku is standing there wondering what the hell is going on. Bakugo walks up next to Izuku and says they're here to scope out the competition. He then walks up to the nearest person at the front door and says, at least they know what a future pro hero looks like. All of a sudden, a boy with purple hair and eyes that almost resembles their teacher, in other words, needs to sleep more, walks up to the front and gets in view of Class 1A, saying, so, this is Class 1A. I gotta say, I'm not impressed. I heard you guys fought some villains, but don't think that you're better than anyone else just because you fought villains and survived. A few seconds of silence goes by and Bakugo speaks up saying, that day, I thought a man had died trying to protect his classmates. He was referring to Izuku. And I was scared because I thought I lost a person I considered my brother since the age of 4. If you really think our minds are being corrupted because of fame, you're a fool. And if you're motivated for being a hero just for that, you're an idiot. Bakugo then lets off a couple of small explosions in his hands. Everyone just stands there in silence. Izuku puts a hand on Bakugo's shoulder and says, let's just go. They both walk out, and Shoto is not far behind them. Outside, Bakugo and Izuku stop at the main entrance. Izuku says, thanks for sticking up to everyone back there. Bakugo then looks down, clenches his fist, and says, I don't care what people say about us. Nobody picks on my friends. Izuku stands there smiling. Shoto then catches up to them and says, wow, that was interesting. Izuku then says, I know it was. Izuku then says, let's go. We need to start our training for the sports festival. They all start walking when Izuku hears someone calling his name behind him. He then turns around and sees Uraraka running after them. He stands there, waiting for her to catch up, and tells Bakugo and Shoto, hey, I'll catch up with you guys later. They leave Izuku alone, and Uraraka catches up with Izuku. A couple breaths of running later, and Uraraka finally speaks.
Hey, Izuku, I was just wondering if you were busy on Sunday.
Izuku turns his head in confusion. Uraraka's face then turns red and starts panicking, saying,
But it's okay if you're busy. I completely understand.
Uraraka covers her face with her hands, but Izuku calmly grabs her wrist, lowering them, and says, sure, I can make some time. Uraraka smiles and says,
Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.
Izuku waves in goodbye for now and catches up with Shoto and Bakugo. Shoto turns and sees him. Hey, what did Uraraka want? Izuku stands there and says, a date. Bakugo says, dang, Izuku, looks like all the girls got it bad for you. A few days pass and it's Saturday. Izuku walks up to Endeavor and says, hey, Endeavor, I was wondering if I could have today and tomorrow off. Endeavor then asks, oh, why is that? Izuku turns his head and says, well, The moment is interrupted by Shoto saying, on a date. Endeavor then turns to Izuku and says, oh, is that so? Izuku, being a bit embarrassed, says, well, yeah, while rubbing the back of his head. Endeavor thinks for a moment and says, okay, but when you're done with your date, I want you to do a 10-kilometer run. No stopping. Izuku then says, you got it, then leaves for his date with Yaoyorozu. Yaoyorozu is in front of the cat cafe waiting for Izuku. Izuku approaches and Yaoyorozu says,
Oh, Izuku, you're here.
Izuku then says, of course I am. So, shall we make our way inside? They both enter, and immediately all the cats are hissing at Izuku because of his wolf side, but he doesn't mind them. They sit down, and for some time, they chat, and all the cats are going to Yaoyorozu as if they were protecting her from Izuku. An hour passes, and Izuku tells Yaoyorozu about his adventures in the woods, and she is amazed by what she is hearing until she hears about the incident with the deer and says,
I'm sorry you went through that. You saw an innocent animal die in front of you.
it's okay, said Izuku. It may have happened, but it made me stronger and braver. And if I were able to get a second chance, I would change it. Yaoyorozu then gives Izuku a sympathetic smile. After some time, they leave the cafe, and Yaoyorozu says,
Well, I'll see you later, Izuku.
Izuku says, I hope you had a good time. Yaoyorozu then says,
Oh, yes, definitely. Thank you.
they both then wave goodbye to each other and then walk their separate ways until Izuku turns around and sees that Yaoyorozu is walking home. Izuku feels like it's his responsibility to make sure she gets home safely, and so he does. He then walks back up to her, saying, Hey, Yaoyorozu, I couldn't help but notice you're walking home. Do you mind if I take you there? Yaoyorozu then begins to blush and says,
Yeah, okay.
They both walk. After some time, Yaoyorozu and Izuku make it to her home. Yaoyorozu says,
Would you like to come inside? You can rest your feet if you need to.
Izuku can tell she's nervous after saying her own statement and says, Thank you, but I promise Endeavor I'd do a 10-kilometer run after my date. But I appreciate it. Yaoyorozu then says,
Oh, okay. That's fine. Thanks for walking me home.
It was my pleasure, said Izuku. I'll see you later. Goodbye now,
Bye.
said Yaoyorozu. Izuku walks away, but then all of a sudden, Yaoyorozu calls for him. He turns around and she walks up to him and she kisses him on the cheek and says,
A little reward for being so kind.
She turns around, runs into her home, and closes the door. Izuku just stands there, astonished because a girl kissed him on the cheek. He then turns around, smiles, and then does his 10-kilometer run. And that's the end of part 7 of What If Deku Was a Firewolf. Now, I understand that this one may have been a little bit boring, but I had to give you guys something right now, and I promise you, part 8 will have some good stuff in it. So anyway, if you all enjoyed this video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you made it to the end of this video, consider yourselves #blessed. And I hope you all have a nice day. Goodbye.